Well, these bills have generated a lot of controversy, as we noted earlier. But perhaps the one aspect of it that's gone all over is the question of value-added tax. Now, and it seems there's a lot about the VAT which a number of people are against, sections of the country are against. Two things about it. First, it would seem that many are not comfortable with the fact that from what VAT is now, there's a proposed increase, which eventually culminates in about 15%. Not many agree with that, that it's, it's so high, 15% from what is being paid now. And that's one aspect of it. And secondly, the question of distribution of VAT has also been so controversial, with people saying this is meant to favor one part of the country against another part, particularly mentioning the fact that this would be of advantage to Lagos, Rivers, and the FCT, while states, particularly in the northern part of the country, would be affected. Now, there's also the other aspect where people talk about certain key government agencies, which they say under these reforms that have been proposed, eventually they would be phased out. Agencies like the ones that cater to infrastructure in tertiary institutions, TED Fund, and all such. So take us through this. Let's begin with the issue of value-added tax, and why it has to go so high.
Yes.
And, right.
Thank you very much for asking about that, because I think that there has been so much focus on the distribution of VAT that we're not talking about the equally important provisions of even just that VAT law. So the rates of VAT that we have today is 7.5%. So when you buy, airtime, you buy a mobile phone, you buy a car, you go to a restaurant, you buy wines, you buy soft drinks, and the list goes on, you pay 7.5%. In paying that 7.5%, let's say it's candy, sweets like this, the person that produced it is likely to have bought a lot of inputs, including the wrap, including sugar is part of the content of this, and some other materials will go into it. The manufacturer also is likely to have equipment. They probably have a factory. They have a generator. They have vehicles for distributing those products to their distributors, and so on and so forth. In Nigeria today, what happens is that the manufacturer of these sweets is unable to get the VAT that he has paid in producing these sweets on the assets, including the whole factory setup. Is unable to get the VAT on anything to do with services, whether you procure professional services, technical services, to manage your business. The only VAT that this manufacturer can claim back is the raw materials that go into the sweets. Now, what the manufacturer will do is, since I've paid VAT and I cannot claim it back, I'll do my calculation of how much profit I need to make, add it to the cost of producing the sweet, and that's how much I'll sell it for.
Okay.
Now, this way of managing our VAT system in Nigeria creates problems, because it leads to what we call cascading effect of prices, because there's a build-up from the very beginning. If it's something that comes from some raw material from the farmer cannot claim a lot of the inputs. So by the time I invoice you for these sweets, you see 7.5% VAT on it. But what you don't see is the other hidden VAT that the manufacturer has not been able to claim back, and therefore has added to the build-up of the costs. Now, we now said this is not good for us as a country, particularly if you're looking for manufacturers and industries to set up in your location. Because what's happening today is if I want to set up a factory to produce mobile phones and I have the choice between Nigeria and Ghana, if it's going to cost me 100 million naira to set up that factory without taxes, in Nigeria, after paying the 100 million, I'll pay 7.5 million for VAT. In Ghana, I'll pay that 100 million and I'll pay 17.5 million for VAT. But the good news is that in Ghana, you get the 17.5 million back from the government. So effectively, you've invested 100 million to set up your factory. In Nigeria, you do not get the 7.5 million back. So you get a little bit of deductions that equate to about 30%, but let's leave that for that purpose of simplicity. So this factory cost me 107.5 million in Nigeria to put up. I'm going to be asking myself, shouldn't I just go to Ghana, produce there, under the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and ECOWAS Treaty? I can always sell to Nigeria. So Nigeria is not competitive. We are losing investment to other places. So part of these reforms in the bills before the National Assembly is to allow those manufacturers to claim all the inputs on their costs. So that brings down their costs significantly.